Hello and welcome to this episode of The Lemonade Stand, Life and Coaching with Dr. Gena. I'm your host, yours truly, Dr. Gena, and welcoming you to Squeeze, Sip, and Savor with Style, as we always do here. So, I decided today is a good moment to take some time and share one of my biggest stories with you. Definitely a big time storyteller. And I think stories are humanity's most wonderful way to understand the experiences that we're going through. And what better place to start than a real one? So, as you may know, if you stopped in before, and if you haven't, let me get you up on game here. What we do here at the Lemonade Stand is provide a virtual community space to come in, hear a little bit about life, hear a little bit about coaching, and really get a little bit of light in our days, right? So, dropping in so that you can have something sweet and get a sense of being with others, connecting with others, even though we're not physically doing it, I think is really magical and really needed in these days and times. So, one of the things that I love to talk about in life and in coaching is a concept called PTG, and that stands for post traumatic growth. Now, I'm not going to go all academic on you because that's not what you're here for. And frankly, that's not what I'm here for either. But I will say, in a nutshell, post traumatic growth, think of it as the flip side of the coin to post traumatic stress disorder, so PTSD. I bet you've heard of that, even if you haven't heard of PTG. So, PTG is the kind of growth that we as humans can experience after going through something that was very traumatic. And it in no way diminishes the trauma of that experience. It in no way, lessens its impact on how it's going to play out in our lives. However, it does open doors of possibility. And when I say that, what I mean is post traumatic growth, in its very basic fundamental essence, is the idea that we can actually come back from trauma even better than we were before. And that better can be interpreted in lots of different ways. Can be subjective, can be objective, can be in measurable ways. So I can give you measurable examples after I share my story in just a moment. And it can also be in, as I said, those subjective ways, those things that are personal to me that I feel different and I might feel better at something or more confident or able or capable around something. Just as a few off the top of my head examples. So, that being said, I'm going to share with you my story. It's a deeply personal one, and it begins on June the 7th, 2020. As we all know, that was one hell of a year, right? I think a lot of us would rather forget it, and most of us probably can never erase that year from our memories. The year the pandemic took hold of the world. So you can imagine by June, and I'm a Canadian, where I was at. We had a lot of really strict lockdowns here. Understand the protectionary measures of it, also understanding the kinds of impacts it had on people's daily activities, their relationships, the stress and strain. So, anyway, giving you that as the background and the context as when our story is going to unfold and take place. So, it was a sunny Sunday evening, about 7 p.m. I had just finished having supper in my home, of course, because it's not like I could go out to a restaurant with my family. And as I was likely to do during that time, I was ready for some mama zen time. Now, as a professional coach, I will often talk about mindfulness, talk about ways that we can keep ourselves motivated, find ways to be more present in the moment. And for a lot of people, that involves a stillness. For me, it involves movement. So, as strange as it may seem, it's paradoxical perhaps, one of the most meditative states for me to be in would be out on my motorcycle. So in 2020, I was really, really valuing that time to be out on my motorcycle. And so that was what I was doing after dinner. Mama's Zen time, and everybody else does their thing, my husband and my sons, and I'm gonna go out on my bike. So I told them, guys, I'll be back in about an hour. Just gonna take a nice ride. Just north of me, you've got some nice country roads. It's a beautiful sunny Sunday. Again, June, warm, nice, dry. So I said, I'll be back in about an hour. Just gonna go get a ride in. Don't really plan on making any stops. I'll come home, we'll play some board games. So everyone looked forward to that. Well, it didn't quite turn out that way. So I did go out on my motorcycle. I did have an awesome ride. And the last conscious thought I remember having was thinking, wow, I'm feeling so lucky today. I'm getting all the green lights. I remembered wondering, should I go straight through this next green light or hang a right and take a different route towards home? And I thought, no, I'm not ready to go home yet. I'm going to keep going. That was a fateful decision. So that's my last memory, all those green lights. And should I turn right or go straight? And then the next memory is of waking up, everything around me looking really, really white, a lot of beeping hospital sounds, and a lot of fuzzy figures dressed in surgical robes and masks, and of course the hair protection. And I thought, what in the world? And I heard voices saying to me, you're at St. Michael's Hospital. You've been airlifted from a traumatic motorcycle accident. Your mother's been trying desperately to get a hold of you. You're in between surgeries. We're putting the phone to your ear now. Please go ahead and speak. Well, that was a lot to process. I heard an uncontrollable sobbing on the phone. Mom? She could barely get words out. I said, I'm okay, Mom. It's going to be okay. And as I said that to her, I wondered, was it going to be okay? Because I couldn't feel any part of my body. So let me fill you in the way I was filled in about 48 hours after regaining consciousness after multiple surgeries. I had been proceeding through said green light that I decided to go straight through instead of turn right. And I had been hit at high speed by a very elderly lady who, by her family's admission, should no longer have been driving. And she'd made a left turn directly into my motorcycle. I'd flown about 20 yards and landed. My bike was in smithereens. You can imagine how much damage my body had sustained. So basically from neck to foot, left side broken, right wrist shattered. And I was obviously, well, I shouldn't say obviously, thankfully, a driver behind me pulled over, stayed on the scene to advise and give witness, called 911, most importantly. And that's how I ended up being airlifted to the hospital. Apparently, I actually spoke to one of the paramedics later. I was fully conscious and speaking, answering, and responsive to questions during that period of time. So the paramedics got me, up into the helicopter, and I'm a bit sad. I always wanted to ride a helicopter, and I remember nothing of this. And so I was airlifted to the hospital, and it was repeating on our popular news channel here in Toronto, CP24. Um, kind of a bit, I'm not going to say it's in essence like CNN, but the way it looks with tickers going across the bottom of the screen and, lots of visual distraction happening at the same time, similar in that vein. And so by the time my mom had made that extremely distressed phone call, she had been watching it on repeat as a news item over and over that, this 40-year-old female motorcyclist had been in a traumatic accident and had been airlifted, and condition was still a mystery. I will say, after those 48 hours, I spent another week in the trauma section in the hospital, and that had quite a few adventures to it. I was then transferred to a long-term care facility where I was supposed to coalesce for about 3 months or so and learn how to walk again. As I was being admitted, I said to them, well, my wedding anniversary is in a month, and I'd really like to go home for that. And they laughed. They said, with all due respect, dear. And you notice you never really like what comes after when someone says, with all due respect. It never really. Anyhow, uh, They said, you can't use a washroom by yourself right now. That you can't bathe yourself. There's really no realistic way you're going home in a month. And I said, I'm a pretty stubborn person. Try me. It's one of those great times where you get to leverage the thing that people, have used towards you in a negative fashion and make it something that works to your favor, in your favor. So I said to them, with all due respect from my side, anything that you can do to speed my recovery would be greatly appreciated. So I was doing physiotherapy and occupational therapy and, all different kinds of medical interventions to rehabilitate. And I said, can you double it, even triple it, according to, the staff you have on hand and the resources you're able to offer me, whatever I can avail myself of, I'd like to use. And that's what I did. And I did get to go home in a month. So in that period of time, um, it's a weird one to compare it to, but I thought about some of the people I most admire in life who have written and done some amazing deep thinking and analysis, not only of their own lives, but of life in general from jail cells. I know, it's a weird comparison to make. It wasn't a terrible experience. I didn't feel like I was in jail. But the combination of it being COVID and so not being permitted to have visitors there, um, combined with, being wheelchair bound and finding it very difficult to, as they said, even navigate to and from a washroom for the first couple weeks. It was a little bit akin to that. I also did not have much distraction because the television in my room wasn't working. And again, because of COVID, I couldn't even interact as much with other patients as I normally probably could have. So no visitors, no TV. I read a lot of books. I did a lot of thinking, and I had an opportunity to reflect on so many things. And one of the biggest conclusions I would say I came to in that time and space that I've taken with me since that really contribute to experiencing this sense of post-traumatic growth is the simple switch of one word in the question that I think understandably rang through my head quite a bit after this experience, which is, why did this happen to me? It's such a random thing, right? How, why, what is the purpose of this? And that's such a human condition to look for the purpose in things. We look for that in our regular existence, much less when something completely unexpected like this occurs. And the switch I made that has been life-changing for me was simply changing that question to, why did this happen for me? If you haven't already acquainted yourself with that little tiny word switch, I invite you to try it out today. Anything in your life that you're thinking, why did this have to happen to me? Pause, reconfigure that question, ask it to yourself, maybe even in the mirror. Why did this have to happen for me? It's amazing how that is going to change the way you're approaching even developing a perspective on that topic. So it's a little bit of the coaching moment for today. But that self-reflection is invaluable. And, as I share with people, how often does a, married mom of two get time like that to read that much, to think that much, to reflect on the meaning of life and my life's purpose that much? So I made some really important decisions about who I would and would not be in that hospital room, that long-term care room. And I had so many wonderful relationships built with, my caregivers, my nurses, my therapists, with my fellow patients, right? Just, I'd say I was probably uh, the youngest. I say the next youngest patient that I met was probably 20 years my elder. So it's a long-term care facility, and it had a lot of elderly folks in there. And it just made my day to sit and chat with these ladies, feel like I'm on my own live episodes of the Golden Girls, but like a super multicultural Toronto version, Scarborough really, which is my spot, that felt really real and authentic to me. And just chatting with these women with Greek accents and Chinese accents and Japanese accents and Jamaican accents, and just hearing their stories not just the stories of, what happened to you that brought you into this facility, but who are you? Where did you come from? What matters to you? And if I'm honest, that kind of human connection and contact kept me alive and going just as much, if not more, on some days than the medications and the formalized, Western interventions. I think of one moment that crystallized in my head as being so meaningful. And if you know, you know. But I think I was probably a week in to that facility, and I hadn't had a really good shower. I've been kind of getting sponge baths helped with that. I hadn't had the opportunity to really wash my hair and detangle it in at least a week. And the state I was in because of the damage to my body between the cast on my right arm and the dislocation of my left shoulder, the idea of going like this to even reach up and comb my hair was just not an option. And I will never forget, it's actually one of my favorite Jamaican nurses who one day, shortly after I'd arrived, said to me, "Would you like me to bathe you?" And I'll never forget that because that's such a private thing. And yet I was just so grateful for the offer. And we talk about representation and, cultural sensitivity and understanding. And it meant a lot to me that she had asked specifically because that shared Jamaican experience resonates. And the idea that she'll be able to do my hair, there'll be something familiar to her, was comforting. And so, of course, I agreed quite gratefully. And I remember I had to wait a couple hours. She thought, "Oh, we'll do this, at 8 a.m." So I'm all ready. I'm excited. 8 a.m. I think it probably was after 10, 11 a.m. when we finally got the opportunity between her responsibilities, nursing there and her schedule, as well as just the availability of the shower. So I get, rolled into this special shower in my wheelchair. And she, with such great care and careful consideration, really took her time helping me help myself to shower. So, doing as much as I could by myself in this special wheelchair made to go into a shower. So, I'm like showering in a chair, very novel. But she also took such time with my hair, conditioning it, detangling it carefully. And it just meant so much. I felt after that shower like a new human being. In a crazy way, it was almost like a second baptism. That's how dramatic it was to me. Um, that it was almost like a spiritual cleansing. And yeah, as I said, I was just so grateful to her for it and showed my gratitude. She knows how much she meant to me. And so that little action very much sticks with me too. Not only because of how much it meant to me, but my capacity to be grateful for it, to really be truly understanding of what it meant in that moment and how important it was for me, and that it was absolutely invaluable. And what I mean by that is you could not put a price tag on that shower. You could have said to me, "It'll cost you $1,000." And I've been like, "Sure, take $1,000. I get showered and I get my hair washed." And it's difficult to even now imagine being in that kind of situation. And yet there I was, and there was another human being there ready to support and help. So even the recognition of knowing what that brought is, I think, in itself a sense of growth. And it happened after a trauma, therefore, part of post traumatic growth. So there's so much more to this topic, and I've spoken on it a number of times. corporate audiences as well. I think a lot of people don't recognize just how much suffering there is. And the funny thing is, we all go through different kinds of suffering. Most people experience some form of trauma in their lives, and yet we don't quite recognize how much that connects us. Or if we do, it's more in a sense of this is why we all need therapy. As a life coach, I'm not going to say this is not why you need coaching. However, I think we underplay or perhaps just miss, don't quite shine a light on how much this can connect us as humans. The fact that, it's that common adage, you never really know what someone's going through. I think I'd add to that and how much it can remind you of something you went through, because that's really powerful, right? That really helps it resonate. It helps us really see and feel into what someone else is experiencing, which can be incredibly powerful for extending empathy. Imagine your employer or a leader doing that for someone on your team. That's super powerful. Or is that you the word team? Maybe you're a coach, a sports coach that's doing that for someone on your team. Like there's so many avenues in life where this could be just such a helpful tool and approach and mindset for us to be more together and understanding of one another. But anyhow, I know I digress quite a bit there. So to close off a bit that story, I'll say I did go home in a month. I did get to come home for my anniversary, and it was wonderful to come home to my family, all of my family. And I can't tell you how much it meant, the kind of warmth of friendship that was extended by so many people in my life, taking care of my kids, helping Mark, supporting him in all different kinds of ways, whether it was bringing food, bringing over gift baskets, even bringing toys and activities for the kids. My parents stepping in and basically doing half the parenting so that they could enable my husband to continue working, as it was a critical period for him. Yeah, it really helped me recognize it takes a village. And when my hour of need came, I feel like I had a whole bunch of villages. And I think that's what community really is and really can be. And right now really needs to be for all of us. So part of the lemonade stand here, stopping in, hearing something, maybe feeling a little bit of inspiration, maybe learning something that piques your curiosity or helps further some insight. I like to ground us with two things. And the first one is a card pull. So I have various tarot cards, oracle cards, and I often use these in my professional coaching with a client's permission, and never if the client is not comfortable with it, of course. However, it does give another opportunity in terms of a way to help people express what they're thinking or feeling, gives an opportunity to sometimes contribute to a reframing of a situation or a problem that will help perhaps elicit new innovative ideas about how to solution that issue. So I'm going to do a card pull here today. I'm shuffling so you can see. I'm using some very classic cards right now. I'll always have these listed below if you're interested in what kind of cards they are. This is more of the classic Rider-Waite type of tarot card. And what I'll do is just pull one card and see how that card can, as I said, ground our conversation today, how it might contribute some further understanding to what it is that we're talking about. What a card to pull. So this card I've pulled here is the Ace of Cups. So I'm not going to go into great tarot detail about this card, but of course I need to give you at least a little bit of understanding around it. So the Ace of Cups is the first of the suit of cups. Cups are all about our emotions, our feelings, our sentiments, and they're always represented by water. You can imagine that correlation and how and why that works, right? Water can be life-giving, and it can also be absolutely overwhelming. such a powerful source. The Ace of Cups, any ace represents something new and positive. And with it being the Ace of Cups, this is something new and positive. And think of it filling your cup, giving you a sense of completion, of contentment, of fulfillment, really. And when I see this card, it makes me think of a famous poem that the title always resonates with me. And I always think of it when I see the Ace of Cups, which is, I'm drinking from a saucer, for my cup has overflowed. The Ace of Cups is that cup that overflows. Some people call it the Holy Grail cup, right? The cup of life. And the way that this correlates to the story that I just told and this concept of post-traumatic growth, it's just perfect. I really did feel when I made that mindset switch to why did this happen for me? I felt a sense of this Ace of Cups card, that I was getting a brand new start in life, that I was going to have an opportunity to not only see and understand, but actually make a plan and an approach and move towards having my Holy Grail. What does the Holy Grail represent to people? Even if you're not religious or spiritual, strictly secular, excuse me. I guess it could be sexual. It's really about eternal life. It's about finding a sense of immortality. And I think that's actually a very integral component when I think about it of post-traumatic growth, because it's recognizing the impermanence of life and looking for the things that, in a sense, do make us feel like life is more worthwhile and therefore almost like we live forever. So after my story and thinking over and over about that question, why did this happen for me? There's so many things I've changed. Like most people who've had any kind of near-death experience, you really learn not to sweat the small stuff. You learn to be super grateful. I think I was a grateful person before, but since the accident, gratitude has entirely new layers, textures, dimensions, and meanings for me. You learn the significance of love, and that's really what the Ace of Cups is as well. It's the cup of love, right? If it's the Holy Grail, that's what it is. It's the cup of ultimate love. And post-traumatic growth gives you the lens and opportunity to offer yourself that ultimate cup of love, to stop searching for it in places outside of you, and to stop thinking that what's in it comes from outside of you. Yeah, that was kind of a profound card pull today, y'all. I'm really feeling that one. So the other thing that we like to close out each of our sessions at the lemonade stand here is a guided meditation or visualization, something that gives us a moment to really become fully present and to be super mindful. And so if we're thinking about that right now, I'm going to lead you through a visualization that focuses on a candle. So if you can, it'd be awesome if you can maybe pause and grab a candle and light it. But if you can't, just look at the one on your screen. And I want you to imagine relaxing while you're looking at this candle. Relax your body, relax your mind by focusing all of your attention and intention on this candle. Make sure you're in a comfortable position and start to take note of how your body feels. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, notice where your body feels most tense. Focus on these areas. As you take another breath, allow the tension to flow away as you breathe out. Inhale as you raise your shoulders, then relax as you exhale and lower those shoulders into a comfortable position. Continue to breathe smoothly and gently as you continue this candle visualization relaxation. As you rest peacefully, begin to form an image in your mind. Imagine you are in a safe, comfortable room, and that room is pleasantly dark. Imagine the glow of a candle beside you. Keep your attention facing forward as you notice the gentle flickers of warm lights on the wall in front of you. See the dancing light from the candle. Feel yourself relaxing as you watch the beautiful patterns made by the light of the candle. You might want to turn to look at the candle. If you wish, do so now. Turn in your imagination to face the candle. Picture the candle in front of you and see the soft light it creates. Notice the flame gently moving as the candle burns. What does that candle look like? What shape is it? What color? What size? Create a vivid picture of this candle in your mind. Imagine that the candle gently melts away the stresses and tension you've been holding in your body. As the candle burns, feel the tension easing and relaxation flowing through your body. Notice the wax becoming softer. Feel your body also becoming softer. Notice again the soft flame at the top of the candle. See how it flickers slightly in response to your breath. As you exhale, watch how the flame responds each time you breathe. Now, turn your attention back to the wax of the candle. The softening wax is melting, turning to liquid, warm and flowing, free from tension. See the wax of the candle melting the way your tension is melting away. As the melted wax builds, see it slowly overflow and pour down the side of the candle, drop by drop. It feels like any stresses you are holding onto are dripping away with each drop of wax from that candle. The soft flame of relaxation warms you from the inside, melting away all stress. Watch the wax melting, feeling the same effects on the tension in your body, melting, relaxing. Continue to observe the burning candle, enjoying the relaxation you are experiencing. When you are ready to finish your relaxation session, take a deep breath and exhale through your mouth, blowing out the candle. Slowly bring your awareness back to the present. Become more aware of the time and place you are in today. Slowly stretch your muscles and open your eyes, enjoying the feeling of calm and peace that remains with you. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for listening to me. If you actually do read up on post-traumatic growth, the concept of sharing your story is not only cathartic, it's a very important and significant part of the post-traumatic growth process. So thank you. Thank you for having been a part of mine. So from the Lemonade Stand and from myself, of course, Dr. Gena, please accept my gratitude for stopping by today and go out and be in this world more than you do. Always remember, you're a human being, not a human doing. And see you next time when we return to squeeze, sip, and savor that lemonade with style. Take good care. Be blessed.